My name is David Laurie Vanderbeek. I am the Constitution Party's candidate for governor of the state of Nevada in 2014. I'm going to give you the punchline first in this video, and then I'll set all of my reasons forth for the title. This video is a message to all Americans, including those of you who are serving in the military and law enforcement. America is losing all of the freedoms that define it as America. The American dream will come to an end unless we draw the line. Every one of you is going to have to make a decision. Obama is moving to become a dictator. In order to do that, Americans must be disarmed. Our government is preparing legislation to have firearms confiscated, beginning with semi-automatic rifles and military-grade handguns. I'm asking you as Americans to become public and vocal. I'm asking you to publicly state with me that if anyone in any level of government uses physical force to remove your firearms, that you will defend yourselves from these people who are trying to overthrow our form of government and turn America into a police state modeled after Nazi Germany or communist Russia. In this video, I'm going to lay out the historical facts that show where our country is headed. Specifically, I'm going to compare the United States to the rise and fall of Nazi Germany so you can make the undeniable comparisons yourself. Why am I standing up against Obama? Because someone needs to, and someone needs to be brave enough to say something about what's about to happen. The stench of cowardice is settling like a fog over America. I'm fully aware that taking this decision puts me at great risk. I have no dealings with organized crime or the federal government. I have a lot going for me personally, and therefore everything to lose. I'm 37 years old, a working professional, working on my PhD. My wife and I are passionately in love. She's a beautiful woman. We have been blessed with 5 wonderful children. She and I have had the talk so that she and our children will be taken care of if anything happens to me. We have a close extended family who support one another. But the bottom line is that I'm a student of history, and we are students of history, so we can see that our nation will collapse if we continue on our current course. Our children will not enjoy a bright future unless we take a stand. I've set my life in order so that I'm ready to suffer whatever is necessary so that our children and our grandchildren will be free. You, the American people, know that I'm telling you the truth. You're buying weapons at a record pace because you subconsciously know that you must prepare for the possibility of the second civil war in America. You also know that your government is building an army, a domestic army, through the DHS to go to war against the American people. I want you to know that it's not too late for the Constitution to be restored as the supreme law of our nation. The truth is that Obama, like any other tyrant in history, can make all the oppressive laws he wants, but you still have a choice of whether or not to obey. If you are a police officer, you still have a choice as a human being of whether or not you will enforce an unconstitutional law. You have a mind, a heart, instincts, and a soul. You can and must choose to disobey unconstitutional orders. Because if you police go along with gun confiscation orders from this government, you're going to have to kill me, and I won't make it easy. If that starts, there will be an insurrection. Americans aren't going to cower in their houses waiting for you to come. They're going to come find you first because they know history. Alexander Solzhenitsyn wrote about what it was like to be in communist Russia when people were being arrested and put in gulags and concentration camps and executed. Quote, "And how we burned in the camps later thinking, what would things have been like if every security operative, when he went out at night to make an arrest, had been uncertain whether he would return alive and had to say goodbye to his family, or if during periods of mass arrest, as for example in Leningrad, when they arrested a quarter of the entire city, people had not simply sat there in their lairs, paling it with terror at every bang of the downstairs door and at every step on the staircase, but had understood that they had nothing left to lose and had boldly set up in the downstairs hall an ambush of half a dozen people with axes, hammers, pokers, or whatever else was at hand. The organs would very quickly have suffered a shortage of officers and transport, and notwithstanding all of Stalin's thirst, the cursed machine would have ground to a halt. If. We didn't love freedom enough. And even more, we had no awareness of the real situation. We purely and simply deserved everything that happened afterward. Post quote. During the last election, I was a candidate for U.S. Senate for the Constitution Party here in Nevada, and I said then in the Reno Gazette that the only defense spending with which we should concern ourselves is arming ourselves in self-defense against our own government, which is almost in tyrannical freefall. That is how I spoke, and I gained nearly 49,000 votes. Now, I want to be candid. It's not going to take 49,000 armed Americans in Nevada to stop gun confiscation in this state. 300, a few hundred committed people for the Constitution will be enough to stop. I'll be irrelevant. I'm not advocating violence. I'm just describing, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do as a political leader. I'm describing the past, the present, and the future. You can put me in jail, but people will come for me. You can kill me, but then people will come for you. Personally, now I've prepared for whatever comes. I'm ready. Recently, we were told as Americans that one gunman killed 27 people in Newtown, Connecticut. There is no proof whatsoever of that government propaganda. There is no video footage. There are no photos. So I did what a leader should do. I issued a public statement listing many of the contradictions of the government's story and how that shooting is being used as the 9/11 against our Second Amendment. This video is called "Did Obama Order Sandy Hook Shooting to Get Your Guns?" Nevada Governor 2014, David Lori Vanderbeek. I'm not going to comment at length on that tragedy here, except to say that if the official story were true, all the lives could have been saved by having one armed guard at the school. If you go to YouTube and search the words Obama Sandy Hook, you'll see that all the top search results on the first page are Obama speaking, except my video. I gather from that as of this moment, I'm the only major political leader in the United States willing to even ask real questions about the Sandy Hook shooting. So if you care about truth, if you care about the First and Second Amendments, you will search and promote that video. Now, our Department of Homeland Security was modeled after the East Germany Stasi, secret police, and the Communist Russia KGB. A couple articles you can look up. One's called "Former Russian Premier Ex-KGB Head to Work for Homeland Security." That was written by Charlotte Iserby. Another you can look up about Marcus Wolf. In 2004, Al Martin of almartinraw.com reported that the DHS had hired Marcus Wolf, a former East German spy chief. Are these stories true? Probably. I don't personally know. But what I do know is that our DHS is becoming like the Stasi and the KGB known in history. I'm going to list all of my reasons why, and it's because of this transformation of our DHS and our government that you must prepare to fight them. Because if you're not willing to defend yourselves, I will show you from history that you will become slaves of a dictator, whether it's this president or some other. If the government lays siege against your home, you have a right to defend yourselves. You must respond with an absolute commitment. Decide and declare now that you will. Draw a line in the sand for the Second Amendment, because once the Second Amendment is gone, the First Amendment is nixed. Now, I want to say a word to all the police officers on the police powers that you would have to abuse to confiscate guns. Question: where do your police powers come from? Our Declaration of Independence states, "Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed." So, as a police officer, your powers to arrest come from the consent of the people. How? Well, for the answer, we need to study the originators of our law. Thomas Hobbes is one of those, and he wrote the Leviathan. He explains that by natural law, every human being is born with the right of self-defense. I think we can all agree on that. In chapter 14, Hobbes says that the right of nature is the liberty each man hath to use his own power as he will himself for the preservation of his own nature. That includes police powers. I have police powers over myself, unless what? Unless I enter into a contract with the government, thereby transferring the right of policing myself to the government employees. Now he goes on and he says the mutual transferring of right is that which all men call contract. The contract that becomes law, and the law restrains me from exercising my right as long as I agree to the contract. The contract of which I speak is the U.S. Constitution. Now, if you police decide to violate the Constitution by confiscating guns in violation of the Second Amendment, which is so clear, then you have broken the contract, and I'm no longer required to recognize your police powers over me because those police powers are limited by what the contract protects. The problem, well, and this is the thing, is that you wear a uniform, you wear a badge, and you wear a flag, and you wear a gun. Those are all symbols of the contract. If you violate the contract, no one is required to recognize your police powers any longer. But there is a problem which I want to point out, and that as you as police and the Americans in general, the public, are too stupid and ignorant to know their own rights and too cowardly to enforce them. As governor of Nevada, I will propose the Second Amendment Preservation Act, which you can read at the 10thamendmentcenter.com, not because we need it, but to reconfirm our commitment to this original contractual provision in the Constitution between us, you as police officers and everyone else. And it is what was the Nazi process of mass murder, the 20 steps. Okay, and I will show you where we are at on these 20 steps. Number one, they started by attacking the Jews in the media. In other words, they used the media to demonize